A two-part question.
My first question is, you have done just about everything. You're a writer, you're a singer, you're an actor, you're a producer, I mean, all kinds of stuff.
You've only scratched the
Astronaut,
surface.
Out of everything that you've done, part one, is what is your most, that you're proud of, that you've accomplished? And then my second part is, since you've done all this, what's on your bucket list next?
Oh. So, I don't feel that I've accomplished everything. I feel like there's so much to do, and I haven't done it. For example, and this is, I'll accomplish two things here. I've got an album out right now called Bill, and it's really interesting genesis, the whole thing. An executive with a network who lives in New York. I worked for him for something a long time ago, and somehow we got acquainted, and somehow we started a friendship. He's a younger man, and we would meet at a Chinese restaurant for duck whenever he came to Los Angeles. So he'd say, I'm coming in, time for duck, and we'd meet, sit across the table, and have a wonderful conversation. The two of us, he from New York, me from Montreal, really, but living in Los Angeles, and having nothing in common except everything. So we became fast friends, and we'd eat this duck. Years went by. One day, he brought to the meal another gentleman named Dan Miller, who was one of the members of a group called They Might Be Giants. Now, when I say that, a much younger audience goes, ooh, because they remember They Must Be Giants. But he was an award-winning musician. So somehow, during the meal, Dan says to us, we should do an album. I'd been making albums for another label called Cleopatra, but these two guys, I thought, well, why not? There's an award-winning musician, and Rob, the poet, said, and I'll write the lyrics. I thought, okay. And then somebody, I think it was Dan, said, we should know. It was Rob who said, let's make it about Bill. I've written all these stories and books and have fun of things that have happened to me. Let's make it about Bill. So we've taken occasions of my life. For example, I'm leaving home. Time to leave home, and I'm headed for Toronto. I'm a young actor. I've gone to university. I've been performing all my life. And my father, who thought it was a useless profession, didn't want me to go, but I'm going. And I have a little $400 car, a little old English car, very light. And I'm leaving. And now I'm crossing the bridge, probably over the St. Lawrence River, on my way. And coming at me on the bridge was an 18-wheeler truck. And that blast of air they pushed, it almost pushed me over the side of the bridge. But it didn't, and I continued on my way. What an interesting story, because we're all always crossing a bridge. And we're all always facing an 18-wheeler. And we've got to survive, and we've got to keep going. And that's what the song is about. It's called The Bridge. So we've taken incidences in my life. There's a Brad Paisley accompanies me on a song called So Far From the Moon. I'm broke. I couldn't cash a $15 check. This is after Star Trek. I'm living in a cab over a pickup truck, and I'm doing summer stock on the East Coast. I'm lying on the bed in the cab with a 4-inch black and white television set on my chest. I'm looking through the window because that was the evening that Armstrong put foot on the moon. Now, I had been to Cape Kennedy more than once. And the last time I was there had been about a year earlier, in which they had made a model of the spaceship of the Enterprise, and they said, "Here, sign this." We went down to the store nearby, and we bought it, the model that we had to put together, and with great difficulty. And I said, "Why? It's not rocket science." And they laughed a little. And I wrote, "I'll see you on the moon." I'm now lying in bed looking at them going to the moon. And I'm at the lowest part of my life, and they are at the highest. And the song was called "So Far from the Moon." And Brad Paisley sings it with me, or does his number and I do mine. And it's a Western country song because he's there. So it's an interesting album from that. And it's it's gotten incredible notices. And so I'm very proud of that latest thing. What I would like to do, I would like to live. How about not die? I would like to not die. But, and there's a song about that as well, nothing can be done. So I'm seeing, I'm feeling, I'm loving as much as possible, as we all should do all our lives anyway. Thank you. Hand her the mic. Hand her the mic. No, he's not going to let her. Oh, some of her. It's okay.
That's okay.
Hi, Ed.
Hello. The mask, probably.
No, I caught a glimpse of the hair. So.
Right. So I watched you go up to space and come back down.
Yeah.
And you gave a wonderful speech afterwards.
It wasn't a speech.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
But you remarked that you hope you never recover from it.
Yes.
So I was wondering,
Have I recovered?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. So I thought you might want to hear something about it. A friend of mine, who is also, you can go sit down. Instead of waiting immediately for me to dismiss. Or you could stand at attention. A friend of mine, who's a director, producer, he likes me to say his name, Jason Ehrlich. He doesn't get enough credit. So Jason Ehrlich, with whom I made Better Late Than Never, said one day, a couple of years ago, "You know what Blue Origin is?" And I said, "No." He said, "Blue Origin is going to be the Amazon thing. Why don't you sit down and oh, the cross-legged thing, that's incredible. Do you take yoga? You don't take yoga? Does your wife stretch you? Yeah? Oh, she punches you out. You fall to the ground and you stretch out. Okay, got it. So Jason said, Blue Origin is going to fly up into space, and it's, what a great idea if you went with them. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to go up into space and die. So he said, no, it would be really good. Let me call the people in the city, in Seattle, and talk to them. Oh, okay. So he calls Blue Origin, he calls Amazon in Seattle, and they say, "Oh, that's an interesting idea. Why don't you come up here and talk about it?" So we go up, Jason and I go up to Seattle, to Amazon. We come in the Amazon building. And the lobby of the Amazon building, no kidding, the lobby is about the size of this room. And in the lobby are all the models of the spaceships, especially the Enterprise. Huge. I mean, it was the real model. And the rest of the room was all filled with things from Star Trek. Turns out Jeff Bezos is a huge Star Trek fan. So we go into, eventually Bezos comes out and we stand around, they take pictures of Mr. Bezos and I in front of the model. Then we sit down at a table, he's got a few people there, Jason and I, and we outline, why don't you take Shatner up on the first thing? How neat would that be? Captain Kirk goes up in space. You and I went, oh, okay, I don't think so. So they say, okay, interesting idea, we'll consider it, we leave. Whereupon COVID hits, and a year goes by, we don't hear anything. Then it slackens off, as we know, and there's an announcement. Blue Origin is going to go up in the air, and Jason says to me, I bet they're going to choose you, to go to space. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to go. It's dangerous. I mean, come on. And nobody cares. I mean, you know, I don't have, and then I thought, you know, it's a thrill. It's like, I mean, there's jeopardy there. They would like to say Blue Origin and all the money men who are sending people up into space now. They would like to say it's safe, and it is, except it isn't. Well, it's one thing to go in your car along a freeway and drive 70, 80 miles an hour, say 90 miles an hour. There's some jeopardy there. I was performing somewhere in the Midwest, and I had to get to the next gig, 400 miles away the next day. And we designed it so we would drive a certain amount, 200 miles at night, and then go to a motel and go another 200 miles to get to the place that I had to perform the next day.